You ever write a post for social media and then like you read it back and you're like, ooh, let me delete that. Ooh, let me get rid of that. Ooh, let me rephrase that a little bit. And then you find yourself kind of like changing the parts that feel most like you, the way you would say it in real life. Because you feel like this may be a little too much or inappropriate, a little too direct, a little too honest. So you soften it up, you clean it up, and then you make it sound like more professional, right? More digestible for the masses. And then you post it, right? And then you read it back and you're like, I'm not moved, but it'll work. Because the main point you intended to make got lost in the sauce with all that overly editing. And don't even sound like you no more. Yeah. That happens when you are scared of the consequences of showing up with bold authenticity. Welcome to Code Switch Rebellion. This is the unfiltered podcast for Black women who are done shrinking, chasing perfection, and performing professionalism in their own business. I'm Melanie L. Denny, aka Melly D, personal branding consultant and the identity strategist. This is where we talk about what it really takes to build a personal brand rooted in who you are, not who you were conditioned to be. Round here, we have real, raw conversations about what it means to show up with integrity, authority, and bold authenticity so you can attract better clients and bigger opportunities. Let's get into it. So, if you've been listening to the podcast, every week I come here and I encourage you to show up bold, to be authentic, to be boldly authentic, right? And you get riled up and you're like, yes, Mel, yes. And then when it comes time to actually do the work and show up, you fall right back into that place of like, I don't know, maybe not. It just feels so unsafe for some reason to do this. It's like, I can't do it. And today I want to talk about why that is. So in this episode, we're going to break down why boldness and being boldly who you are feels like you're being exposed. And the thought of being exposed feels uncomfortable. We're going to unpack that. Then we're going to really name the consequences of visibility that you have been trained to anticipate. Meaning, when you show up, something negative will happen, and therefore you don't want that negative outcome. So I'm going to just sit down and be quiet. And then I'm going to show you how you can show up powerfully without feeling like you're putting yourself on display. Okay? Let's get into it. So here's what happened. Okay? First of all, you learn really, really, really early in life what was acceptable and what was not acceptable in society, in corporate, right? You were corrected on your tone, right? How you showed up. If our hair wasn't right, better get back in the house, get that hair done, get it together. If we had too much expression, I was big with that one. Even till now, somebody was like, well, we always tell what Mel thinking. I'm like, what? I thought I was working on that. Right? But we have to try to just put on a happy face, put on a certain expression, be a certain way that is acceptable, right? And then when you showed up real and raw, you got feedback. You always got corrected. You always said, no, that's not how we're doing it. No, that's not how we're doing it, because we have to shape and manage how other people perceive us. And we have been conditioned, and they did a phenomenal job. They, meaning society, the powers that be, your parents, the church, whoever, a phenomenal job at conditioning us, Black women in particular, to self-regulate, right? To make sure that when we put something out, when we put ourselves out, there's a certain perception that we want to make sure that we upkeep. So we don't want to be too much. In turn, we have been this entire time, our entire lives, we have been editing ourselves internally. And we have a hyper awareness. And it's to the point where now it's even subconscious and we're not even doing it on purpose. We're just doing it on autopilot. Like, it's been that far ingrained in us. And we're just continuously self-editing constantly, every day, day in and day out. And we do this to protect ourselves, right? So then when someone like me comes along and say, hey, fuck all that. We ain't doing none of that no more. You get it and you agree and you want to do it. But that fear of the consequences that you were trained on is still there. It's still there. And it feels daunting. It feels hard. It feels so uncomfortable that we just fall right back into place. Right? And it's a lot. It's very challenging. And what we're doing is we are anticipating negative outcomes. And I'm going to name some of them so that we're clear on what I mean when I say we're fearful of the outcome. We don't want to be misunderstood. So you say something, then someone else internalizes what you said based on their reality and how they perceive the world. They take it out of context and they misread the intent and they take it however they see it. And then now we feel like we have to explain ourselves to make sure that we're still accepted. Right? How comfortable is that? No. That's not what I meant. No. I didn't mean it that way. No. You took it wrong. Who wants to be doing that all the time? We don't want that. So we try to make sure that we say things in a way that can't really be that misconstrued. Editing constantly. Another one, being labeled. Well, if you say it this way, or you cuss, or you don't give a damn, or you make a face, now we're aggressive. Now we're too opinionated, right? Now we're too bold. Now we're too whatever. Now you feel like you no longer control your narrative and how you're being perceived, when that is a direct opposition of what you were trained to do, which is to manage the perception that other people have. Right? So who wants that? That's another outcome we don't want to have to deal with. So we go back in our little bubble and we keep it straight and narrow. Another one, you don't want to lose opportunities. And I think out of all of the ones I'm going to list, this is probably the most prominent one, because a lot of times I'm talking to women in business and I'm telling them to be themselves in their business, and they feel like their fear is that the people that pay them will no longer want to be in business with them because of how they actually are, of who they actually are, right? Clients are going to reject you saying, oh, she's just not for me. Oh, clients are going to opt out. They're not going to want to work with you, etc. Right? So now you're losing money and you're not going to be able to take care of yourself or your family. That is humongous. This is huge, because if I show up as myself, I'm going to lose the opportunity to provide for my family. Hello, what are you going to pick? You're going to provide for your family, right? Exactly. Then another one is you don't want public pushback. You don't want to get canceled. You don't want no comments. You don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons. You don't want the DMs. You don't want people disagreeing with you, right? Because now you have to deal with disparaging comments and bullies and slander and getting canceled and all this negative press. You don't want to get canceled. You don't want people to feel like, oh no, and bash you, because that is a psychological challenge that us as human beings, we're not really built for, right? People constantly telling us negative things about ourselves is not how we thrive. So we don't want that. So better get in my little bubble and keep it clean. Keep it safe. No issues. Another one I get a lot too is that you don't want to be seen by the wrong people, meaning you want to hide from a subset of the population. For example, you don't want your old coworkers to know what you're doing now or what you're talking about. You don't want your family to know what you post about or talking about. Hello. And so now you want to make sure they don't lose respect for you or write you off because of something you did or said that was deemed inappropriate, unprofessional, too much, to this, to that, right? Then you don't want to get it wrong in public, meaning if you're not perfect, or you don't have like all the facts, or you don't know like everything about this thing you're talking about, people are gonna be like, no, 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 you don't know what you're talking about. So then now you have to be constantly thinking about people holding you to the fire, criticizing you on what you said that was wrong, when you made a mistake, or you misquoted something, or you said something and maybe it wasn't all the way right. That's uncomfortable as well now, isn't it? And I can relate to pretty much all of these. Like, let's not get it twisted. I'm on here telling you these things, but I have not arrived. Right? And I don't think anyone has. And so to tell someone, or pretend as if we know everything and we shouldn't talk about something if we don't know every single thing about that thing, is crazy work. There's always things to learn. There's always new perspectives. There's always evolving. It's always happening, right? And so when you put yourself out there and you talk about things that you may not know everything about, it's okay. It's okay. We're all learning, are we not? Look, when you boil all of this stuff down, all of these reasons I kind of listed, all of the things that we're looking to avoid, they all boil down to some other person accepting you. And not being accepted is crazy. It's scary as hell, because as human beings, we are built to be in community. We are built to be with other people. And if they don't accept us, now we're isolated, and we were never built to live in isolation.
I got a quick question for you. Do you keep attracting the wrong client or no clients at all? Something's going wrong with your personal brand, boo. And it's okay, but before you can fix it, you gotta really know what's going on. You gotta assess and see what needs to be fixed so you can take the next best steps. If you're ready to get off that struggle bus and stop winging it, book a digital brand audit. This is a personalized deep dive on how you're showing up online. We dive into what's working, what's missing, and what's really holding you back from those opportunities and those clients that you know you deserve. Book your digital brand audit today.
So when you shy away from being boldly authentic, like I preach, you're really, really terrified at your core as a human being of what being seen will cost you, and that thing is acceptance. We want to be accepted. So then your brain says, girl, better stay safe. Better control that. They won't accept you if you do this thing or say this thing or be who you are. But I want you to consider this, right? Think about this. If someone, group of people, whoever, if they don't accept you, and now your whole world is tore up and you fucked up and you're sad and you're upset and you can't believe it and you're devastated and you're depressed, it may be because you also have not accepted yourself. Because you're also second guessing yourself. You're also saying, maybe I am too much. Maybe I am too aggressive. Right? And if you haven't really tapped into who you are and truly accepted all of you, flaws and all, that is why you feel exposed when you show up. Because at some level, you agree with them. Right? And you're scared that they're going to find out that you really are not acceptable. And that's why you can't be bold. Because you're not clear on who you are, and you have not accepted it, and you have not anchored in your identity and your perspectives and your values, and you haven't realized like how powerful you are in your truest, rawest self, because the powers that be have done a phenomenal job of telling us what is acceptable and what is not. So when you're constantly seeking validation and you don't get that, you feel exposed. You feel uncomfortable, right? Like you're not good enough, and everybody can see that you're not good enough. So when I say show up boldly, if you're not rooted in who you are, then that boldness without like really anchoring into your identity, it feels like exposure. Like you're just out here, like people could just see you and you are not you are not the move and they don't accept you. And again, as human beings, that acceptance is important. But I'm here to say it starts with self acceptance. Right? Think about it this way. If you think that you're smart, let's say for example, and someone comes to you and says, you dumb, are you going to second guess if you're smart or not? Because you're rooted in that identity of a smart person. You already know, without a doubt, I'm smart. What you talking about? You're crazy. And you're not fazed. You're not moved. But if someone says, girl, you too loud, and you feel like maybe I shouldn't be loud, you're going to second guess it. And you're going to be like, oh no, am I loud? Am I bad? I'm so sorry. Because you haven't accepted the fact that you're loud and that is a part of who you are. And that's okay. Being loud could be a strength. Everybody can hear you. No one's going to be like, what did she say? Right? So think of it that way. When you're rooted in who you are and you're good with it and you accept it, can't nobody faze you for real. It's when you're shaky. It's when you're not sure. Then you're like, oh no, I don't want that. I don't want to feel like they don't accept me because I haven't accepted that part of me either. And now, so now showing up feels risky. Everything feels risky because if you don't have that clear, strong sense of self and you don't have clear boundaries and you don't own your voice and own who you are and own your flaws as well, you're going to have a problem. So, how can you show up boldly without feeling like you're all out, like all on Front Street? First of all, you have to decide who you are. Get clear on that, y'all. You know, this whole thing is really about identity. The Code Switch Rebellion is rooted in identity and knowing who you are. I think that is like the most powerful thing you could do is to know who you are. Because when you know who you are, you just know. You have such a much stronger sense of self that can move through this world with confidence, and you know what's for you, you know what's not for you. You can make decisions way better. You attract people who appreciate who you are, and you don't have to put on like that stuff is exhausting, y'all. So you got to get rooted in who you are. I think one of the first steps is literally sitting with yourself, going within. You know, I was gonna say I'm gonna recommend some books, but I want you to start with you first. I don't want you to go trying to find external validation or external reasons, ways in which to find yourself. You just have to do the work on your own. Like, be quiet, put the phone away, get a pen, get a paper, and just start writing. Say, who am I? And then say, I am. And just let everything flow. Let it all flow out. Let it all flow out because everything that you need is already in you. You don't need a book to tell you who you are. You need you to tell you who you are. And it's not even about telling you who you are. It's really about taking away all the layers of bullshit that you've been fed your entire life that tells you that who you are is not good enough. That's really what you're doing, right? So that's the first thing. You got to know who you are. You got to know who you are. You got to know what you like. You got to know what you don't like. You got to know what you stand for. You got to know what you don't stand for. You got to know what you believe in. You got to know your preferences. You got to know everything about you. You are the only one that can be an expert on you. So take that seriously and be who you are everywhere, including business. And then now when it's time to show up and share something, you know, post a post, write an article, get on a podcast, whatever, write a blog, whatever it is for the sake of business, you know, and which is the realm that I'm trying to stay in, even though this is way broader than just business. When it's time for you to put yourself out there, you have to also decide what's off limits, Meaning, I'm not going to be talking about my kids. I'm not going to be talking about where I live. I'm not going to be talking about specific aspects of my life. That's okay. Being boldly authentic doesn't mean everybody got to know every single thing about who you are, right? That's transparency. We're not doing that. We don't need to be transparent about all the things that we do and all the shit we got going on in our personal lives, especially for business. I'm saying make sure that when you do talk about something, that it is true to you. It is true to who you are, right? This doesn't mean put all your business on Front Street, meaning like, oh yeah, my mom abused me as a child and all this other stuff. If it adds to the story and if it is relevant to the business that you have and it would resonate with your clientele and you're comfortable sharing that, sure. But like if it's irrelevant and nothing to do with nothing and you don't want to share it, you don't have to share it, right? Just make sure that you are clear on what you are talking about and what you're not talking about, right? Make sure that you have intention on what you're going to say, what you're not going to say in terms of who you are. And this is why when I got into personal branding, I really was looking at it from a much, much deeper lens, right? My clients would come to me looking for like cute colors and photos, but like when we really got into it, I was doing identity work, right? So it was more like, who are you? What do you stand for? Let's start there. And a lot of people literally skip this step. And it's so important because it's the foundation for everything else in terms of how you're going to show up. I want you to really ponder on why it feels so scary and then think about who you're doing it for. Who are you seeking acceptance from? And the first person really needs to be yourself. If it's not acceptable to you first, then Molly, you in danger, girl. So listen, boldness and showing up really real feels scary because you were conditioned to expect a certain negative consequence and you want to avoid that. And then you don't have a strong sense of self. That's really what it boils down to. This was another episode of Code Switch Rebellion. And please don't ever forget, your identity is the strategy. Period. If this episode sparked something in you and you want to continue the conversation, join me over on Substack. I would love to hear your thoughts on today's topic. Till next time, y'all, remember, your identity is the strategy.